Before the new year lights up the sky and the countdown hits zero, there's a story about what happens when authority stretches too far and forgets its limits. If you enjoy real-life HOA drama, neighborhood power struggles, and clever, rule-based comebacks, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. You're watching HOA drama where rules are tested, boundaries are challenged, and common sense finally gets a voice. The year was ending just as it always did in the quiet, well-kept neighborhood of Overreach Lane. Frost clung to the edges of sidewalks, decorative lights shimmered across manicured lawns, and there was that tingling feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen. For months, the narrator, Jordan, had meticulously planned a private New Year's Eve gathering at their home. It wasn't a street party, it wasn't announced publicly. It was an intimate celebration for friends and family who had shared the year's challenges together. Jordan's house had been polished with care, furniture rearranged to create room for laughter and dancing, and a playlist perfectly curated to carry everyone into midnight. Drinks were tasteful, snacks thoughtfully prepared, and everything arranged for responsible enjoyment by adults who understood celebration. Yet Overreach Lane had an HOA known for overstepping. Over the years, the board had built a reputation for intervening in every trivial detail. Trash cans were timed, holiday lights were measured, vehicles photographed and documented. As the final hours of the year approached, the HOA saw another chance to remind residents who they believed was in control. The first sign of tension didn't arrive with a knock on the door. It came as a vague, passive-aggressive post on the neighborhood portal. Carefully worded, it referenced community standards and holiday conduct, with an emphasis on maintaining decorum. No names, no direct accusations, just a subtle, coded warning. Jordan read the message twice, feeling that familiar tightening in the chest, the one that comes when the HOA speaks with intent. As the evening wore on, the signs multiplied. An email reminder appeared, followed by a printed notice posted near the mailboxes. The language hinted at restrictions on alcohol, citing vague safety concerns and vaguely invoking community harmony. The HOA assumed their authority reached beyond common areas, even into private homes. Jordan's curiosity replaced concern. Having lived on Overreach Lane for years, Jordan knew the bylaws inside and out. Nowhere did they allow the HOA to dictate behavior within private residences. Their jurisdiction applied only to shared spaces, exterior property, and conduct impacting the neighborhood collectively. Instead of panicking, Jordan prepared. A printed copy of the HOA rulebook was laid carefully on the dining table, tabs marking relevant sections, notes highlighting boundaries the HOA could not cross. Jordan didn't seek confrontation. They sought clarity. If the HOA wanted a test of authority, it would be met with law and precision. Guests arrived as the evening deepened. Coats zipped, smiles in place, optimism filling the cold night air. Inside, warmth replaced the chill, laughter began to echo, and the quiet tension of the year slowly lifted. Snacks were arranged, drinks poured responsibly, and conversation flowed naturally. But Overreach Lane's HOA, personified that year by the notorious Ms. Wentworth, made its presence known. Shadows flickered past the windows. A deliberate aura of authority approached the door, signaling uninvited oversight. Jordan stayed calm. Guests noticed the shift but trusted their host. This wouldn't be a chaotic confrontation, it would be a lesson. As the HOA representatives moved closer, their intent clear, Jordan's composure never wavered. Every detail of the rulebook was ready to counter misapplied authority. The HOA believed that their proximity alone could assert control, but they underestimated preparation and knowledge. The night progressed, tension and celebration intertwined. Ms. Wentworth attempted subtle intimidation, lingering near the front windows, making pointed remarks to each other and observing from the periphery. Yet Jordan's methodical display of preparedness was unshakable. Guests noticed the silent reassurance in their host's movements, the calm confidence that everything was lawful and precise. Jordan retrieved the rulebook and placed it deliberately on the table, open to a page that clearly defined the limits, of HOA authority. Slowly, Jordan began to read aloud. Each clause was chosen carefully: shared spaces, private property, alcohol restrictions, and specific limitations on HOA oversight. Words that had been ignored, misinterpreted, or overlooked were now brought into focus. As the reading continued, the air shifted. The HOA members, once imposing, now faced an irrefutable demonstration of overreach. Guests listened with a mix of satisfaction and awe, realizing how easily the board had misapplied its authority. The tension outside became palpable. Ms. Wentworth's confidence wavered, replaced by awkwardness. Jordan's calm, deliberate reading exposed the limits of authority without confrontation, shamming no one but making the facts undeniable. The gathering inside became more lively, laughter louder, music more confident, and every toast a quiet assertion of lawful autonomy. As the clock approached midnight, the celebration grew in intensity, each cheer, each clink of a glass underscoring a simple truth: knowledge is power. Midnight arrived. Fireworks illuminated the sky, but the true triumph remained indoors. Jordan and their guests celebrated with renewed energy, secure in the knowledge that private spaces and lawful conduct had been preserved. The HOA, humbled by their own rules, quietly retreated. The rulebook remained on the dining table, a silent testament to the principle that authority is bounded and overreach can be challenged with clarity. In the following days, the neighborhood buzzed with conversation. Social media posts dissected the evening's events, praising Jordan's calm and methodical handling. Neighbors who had previously feared confrontation felt emboldened, discussions about rights and HOA limits spread, and a culture of accountability began to flourish. Yet the celebration itself remained the most vivid memory: laughter, music, warmth, and the subtle thrill of witnessing a real-time demonstration of lawful empowerment. Jordan, once just a resident, had become an example, standing up for what is lawful and just required no theatrics, only preparation, knowledge, and courage. Oakridge Lane itself seemed transformed. Boundaries were respected with renewed understanding. Neighbors communicated thoughtfully, and the HOA now approached its role with humility. Authority had been checked, private celebration preserved, and a community reminded of the importance of knowing and asserting rights. Even weeks later, the story lived on. The neighborhood would remember that New Year's Eve not for fireworks, but for clarity, principle, and reason triumphing over overreach. The quiet strength of preparation and knowledge had prevailed. The rulebook remained, the lessons endured, and the celebration continued to serve as a benchmark for lawful empowerment in Oakridge Lane. Authority has limits. Private spaces deserve respect. And sometimes, the simplest, quietest acts, reading the rules carefully and calmly, can change everything.